What is up, party people? We are back again with another special edition of the Out Yonder. We took so much time off and now we're back doing two in a short period of time. It's good to be back. I have a very special guest, a very special friend, co-worker, director of photography, talent extraordinaire, Joe Gennaro. Joe, what's up, man?
How's it going? Pretty well. How are you doing?
Good, man. It's good, man. Everything's good. It's a hot day out here for early April.
Yeah.
It's warm. It's the desert, so this happens. But we were shocked to feel how warm it is out here today. But it's good. We'll let it flow. We'll get a little heat stroke.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens.
Truly.
Yeah, man. So the ride out here was good. Everything's good. You came out from LA?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah. Only a couple hours drive.
Not terrible.
Hey, it's great to see Joshua trees.
Yeah,
so,
it's awesome out here, man.
Yeah, it's very soothing.
Yeah, I've been out here almost 4 years now, and I'm not going back where you live. I'm not going back there anymore. I'm staying out here, I think.
Except for film festivals.
Except for film festivals, which we'll be doing. We'll be talking about that a little bit. And for the odd job here and there. Speaking of odd jobs, did you watch me on HBO last night?
Sorry, I just don't subscribe to HBO. I just have too many other things going on.
Well, a show that I just appeared on, Made for Love, premiered last night. And it was pretty chopped up. I'm there a little bit, but not as much as I wanted to be. But that happens. I cashed my check already.
Yeah, good. And it cleared?
It cleared.
Hey!
So that's a win. So I actually cashed that check like almost a year ago because I shot this thing before everything happened. And it's been on the shelf. Yep, we get planes out here. So I see Joe's looking up. We got a plane flying over.
It's the spirit of St. Louis.
You might see a
back.
random coyote or a jackrabbit or something come through here
cool.
too. Yeah, so we have that happen here. Birds usually perch right behind us. A couple of big guys, vultures. If we sit out
what do
here,
they know that I don't?
Oh, so Joe, we know each other 2007, right?
Yeah. So
you guys have heard me mention La La Land, my project La La Land, the much celebrated, much maligned La La Land. Well, Joe, we met. Joe was the director of photography on La La Land. That's how we met. Now, how did we meet? Because, like, we've talked about it a couple times, and it's like we're not really clear on when. I think we met actually day one on set. But how you got on the project, I'm still not sure to this day. You showed up as a DP, and, and I don't know what happened. Do you remember? Because I think we've tried to talk about it in the past.
Who it was? Not Duncan.
Duncan was the director.
Right.
And well, we'll get to that in a minute. I was going to say something.
No.
But I think you met somebody at a poker game. Is that correct? Does that sound familiar?
That's exactly right. I was, Leah Tenney's apartment and her boyfriend at the time, Jeff.
Yeah.
And who did I meet? Did I meet you?
I don't think we met until you showed up at William Morris for the first day of shooting. Right, day one was we shot actually at William Morris.
All I know is that somebody was a pair of twos and said I'm looking for a DP.
Right, that's the way I heard it.
And I said, I'm in.
Yeah, that's the way I heard it. It was like somebody's like, I need a DP for this short that I'm filming. And you're like, I'm a DP.
Hey, shit, what are you doing Thursday?
Yeah, that's kind of the way it went. And then you showed up. I think the first day of shooting was actually on a Saturday on Labor Day weekend. And,
because I know I had a meeting with Duncan.
Did you come to rehearsals? We had a rehearsal day.
I came to a read-through and a rehearsal, I'm almost sure.
Okay, so we probably met that day. It's a long time ago, 14 years ago, and I'm getting up there, and you're certainly up there, and things are getting kind of foggy. So
hey, why is this any different than back then?
So, I mean, but you really saved my bacon that day, and that's how we kind of became, close allies here, because Duncan, he had a lot of good qualities, a lot of positive stuff he contributed to the project. Directing wasn't one of them.
Well, it was like finding complex solutions to simple problems.
Yeah.
And I'm always a cut to the bone, as minimalist in my lighting, minimalist in my shooting.
Yeah.
As few shots as possible to tell the story, tell the truth.
Yeah.
And there's only one honest place to put the camera at any given time. And so going for multiple coverage and extra shots and things like that you can almost tell, if you think extrapolating out to the edit, there's no sense in shooting this because it won't fit, it won't help the story.
Right. So, and I'm not trying to, he just wasn't prepared at the time. He was probably young, and I think he only had one project under his belt. But he brought us great locations, and he brought Robert Russell, who's a great actor, who a lot of people know. You know him, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and Shag and a bunch of stuff. I think he's on what's the what's his name? Liev Schreiber's show on Showtime.
Right.
Shows, I forget the name of the show right now, but he does a tremendous amount of work, and he was a tremendous asset for us. And
Absolutely.
he brought all that stuff, but he just wasn't prepared to direct. And we're there day one, and we're in William Morris Agency shooting, and we had a lot of coverage, and things weren't going well. And you just kind of stepped up to me, and you're like, I think we should do this. And it was
well,
so clear.
actually, I have to say, I always respect the director's position, no matter how equipped they are.
Right.
And so you frame things as a suggestion. For instance, begging the captain's pardon, sir, but since this is a seaplane, shouldn't we be landing on water? It's like you're coming in for you're all ready to auger in. Do you think you should pull up on the stick a little bit? So pulling the director behind the scenery and saying, hey, you might find a simpler way to do this since tick, 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 we're running out of time on the day. And so as a cinematographer, as a director of photography, I'm basically middle management. I have to satisfy the director's vision, the producer's budget, and the crew's appetite for lunch on time. So I have to keep all three things in balance. But I can't put the crew to extra work that I know is going to be fruitless if I can possibly talk the director out of complexity. Yeah. And the producer always appreciates that because it saves time and money.
Yep. So I was the producer and the actor, and I really couldn't I committed to myself, because I was in almost every scene of that thing, that I couldn't really get bogged down in the technical aspects of it, because I needed a clear head so I can actually try and give somewhat of a performance. So you had a clear vision, you made some suggestions, and from that moment, that day, I just kept going to you for the rest of the shoot. And it's and then by day 2, I think.
And Duncan learned right away to trust my instincts,
right,
because the shots were coming together better than he had conceived in his head.
Yeah. So but we're gonna get onto that as well, because I don't think and that's the thing, and we'll talk about that as we talk about Drifter, our new project, together a little bit too. Because as a writer, I write and we co-directed Drifter, and but I write with pictures in my head. So it's not like I'm just writing some dialogue and I have no vision formed. I have a very strong vision formed.
Right.
On the paper.
And another really strong strength. Strong strength.
I do have a strong strength.
Strong strength. That's us forearms talking. But one of your great strengths is your ability to sense comic timing and work that out in the edit. You were meticulous in the editing process, which was an adjunct of the shooting process.
Right. So yeah, and I think because I have preconceived things in my head that I know. So writing out the script is actually just kind of more it's a technicality to me, because I have all the stuff here. I know what I want. I know what I've seen. I know what I want to see. So it's all preconceived in my head. So I don't think he really got together with me. He didn't get together with me at all before to see really what I wanted. So when we got to set, what he was thinking about doing, what I had set in my head, and what was on the page. Right. And we saw that with Drifter too. It was on the page, what we wanted to shoot. So but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's finish up with the La La Land stuff. So I really we had a ball on the set. Everything went well, and we had a good time, and we have a good product. Right. But we did run into some bumps early, and you smoothed them all out in rapid fashion, real quick on day 1, and that made everything go.
I try to be diplomatic and yet consistent on doing things logically.
Right. Yeah. So I gained a tremendous amount of respect for you that day, and we didn't even know each other, but I was I don't even know this guy, and he's saving my ass right now. And this is tremendous. So I gained a tremendous amount of respect for you. And then La La Land, things happened with it, and we came close several times getting that thing done.
Yeah, it skipped off the surface. Yeah, a couple of times.
Right
and granted, there were so many great things in that story that some stuff was, I won't say stolen, but homage was paid to it in a number of different projects. Not up to and including Ryan Gosling, and the title was grabbed up.
Yeah.
Not that there was any direct connection, mind you, but just the fact that it was such a catchy title. Right. That it was obviously, you put it out there in the ethos.
And there's still homage to this day. I have friends who are doing projects that I recognize the influence, because I know they were strongly they were there in the beginning, watching, being part of the production, and they're making projects now, and I see the influence. So it was a really good project, and we legitimately got it stolen from us, hijacked from us.
Yeah.
By a network that we won't mention.
Right. And a guy we won't mention.
A guy's name we won't mention.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you were trying to help
But
me produce
you know
it.
what they say. You know they say a good idea doesn't care who steals it.
Yeah. That's true. So, I've let go of all that stuff, and it's cool because we've moved on and we're on to other stuff. But it was damaging at the time. It was hurtful because I was because
I broke my heart.
We put our heart and soul into that thing, and like I put everything I had into that thing, and we were there. We was talking to Lionsgate, we were talking to Relativity Media, we were talking to a number of people.
But again, you can rot your soul remembering bad things.
Right.
You can also bring fresh life every time.
Right. And I've always questioned myself about, like, did it really get, I mean, did I lose?
Well,
but let me just say this real quick. So, like, I actually reached out to the network, and they sent me a letter denying, and then a week later, they sent me a letter from their lawyer sent me a letter. So that tells you that they were really concerned. But,
a hot stove.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that they got the lawyer involved, that they actually paid him however much he makes per hour to draft a letter to me, tells you how close they were nervous. But a couple of things happened. I let go of it because I wanted to work.
Well,
and you can't blackball yourself
it's
against
funny.
the big guys.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And I've always felt, and this kind of ties into the drifter theme, that films, like everybody in life, films have a karma.
Right.
Some films, no matter what you try to do to kill them, they survive.
Right.
And they get made.
Yeah.
Some films, no matter what you try to do to perform CPR, they don't come to life.
Right.
And there's some films that you could chase forever that just will never come to fruition.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, but when we reconnected, because just life happened, so we didn't speak to each other for.
Yeah, well, you moved back east.
I moved back east for a little bit, and then and then I had some illness issues, and so stuff and I was out of the business for a while, so life happens and we move on. But so when we reconnected, we talked about this, and you knew the person that I was suspecting of passing off my project as his own.
Yeah.
So I've always questioned myself as, am I being paranoid, delusional? Did these people really steal things? And then when we got together again, you were like, oh yeah, that fucker definitely ripped you off.
Are you kidding? We had a testimony from a dozen other people that say, do not trust this man.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody posted negative things on LinkedIn about him.
Wow.
To make sure there was cautionary tale. Having nothing to do with our project.
Right.
Other projects of which he was a scoundrel.
Right.
So, at any rate, we don't have to keep talking about him.
No, but just to wrap it up real quick, go ahead.
Well, just the fact that we reconnected after so many years, but there was absolutely no time lost.
Yeah. No, we jumped right back. It was kind of neat because I told the story a little bit last week on the show about how we reconnected, and I was a little leery at first to call you because I had this little short film. And I put it together real quick, and I thought.
Well, what's funny is you called and said, "Do you know any DPs who might want to?" What about me?
Right.
Hey, what am I, chopped liver?
Well, I just thought your status is, you're kind of a big shot now. You got a big job, and we'll leave that alone. But you're doing things in the business now, and so it's he's not gonna want to mess around with my short film. And you got back to me in an hour, laughing as you are now.
Whatever it is, Mikey, I'm in. Like the poker game back in the day.
So it was cool. So this thing came together so quickly and so greatly.
Yeah.
And we're thriving right now, and it's awesome. But tell me a little bit about your side of getting to get with Drift. Let me hear.
Well, one of the things is that obviously within hours of connecting to each other, you sent me the script. I read the script and could easily visualize what you were going for, and I knew that first of all we were in the middle of pandemic protocols.
Right.
So being out in the desert in the open air. Only three performers. The fact that we were going to be in a bubble once we all got tested and all got started. That we could be masks off outdoors and trusting each other because we all had gotten COVID clearance.
Right. Yeah.
So and an incredibly small crew made up of your wife, your sons.
Both my sons, my big one and my little one.
I said sons.
Yeah.
Sons. And so with a family team that had all been cleared together, I felt confident that I could come in from Los Angeles and not have to worry about quarantine or isolation, and we could get the job done.
Right.
Now,
And I really thought, I mean, when I put the thing together, that's kind of what I was going for. I was like, all right, we have this situation going on. How can we maximize it? And like, so that all went into the preconception.
and so, in concept and theme aside, the practicalities of shooting it were like high in my list.
Right.
For instance, the day out in the desert, you and I, the most important thing we did was scout ahead of time.
Yep.
We went a week or two ahead of time. We scouted out the location. I used all kinds of computer apps on my phone to take test stills of the framing, to take geo coordinates of where exactly we're standing in the middle of nowhere, so we could find the spot again.
I was unfamiliar with those apps that you had on your phone. I had no idea those things existed, but those were amazing. But just to backtrack a little bit, just to let the audience know a little bit, like when I wrote the script, I actually went out to those locations before I wrote, because I had a couple of ideas and I thought maybe these locations would work. So the conceptualization of it was at that spot.
Sure.
So we wrote it based off of those locations. And then after you got involved, we went back out there together. And you have these things on your phone where you can just shoot video, and it tells you where the sun is at what time of day, and the coordinates, and like it's
Even
amazing.
camera height and angle of
Yeah.
tilt.
It's amazing.
But anyway, the long and short is all that technical detail helped us recreate the spot for the shoot day,
Right.
2 weeks hence, and in doing so, you realize, okay, we're going to have to trek 1.5 miles into the middle of nowhere to find the spot. Okay, that's great. That gets us to noontime in the day. That only gives us 4 or 5 hours, because back then in early December, the days were very, very short.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure we were done and be able to walk back in the dark to get home.
Yeah. And which I barely did, because I was in those cowboy boots.
Yeah, well, that was your problem.
Yeah.
I should have told you to bring sneakers.
I should have brought sneakers, but I thought we were going to be doing some shooting as we were walking, instead of just lugging all the gear.
Yeah.
So
well,
I came in
and
costume.
when we say all the gear, it was a complete camera package that we had to hump there.
In costume and makeup, I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not to mention there were other characters who were also in makeup marching.
And our actress Irina, we had her carrying stuff, and my wife, we had her and the 10-year-old, 9-year-old at the time, we had him carrying stuff.
Yeah,
but,
it was a trek.
But my bigger son, the mammoth
Well, he's a weightlifter.
that he is,
He's a
he
bodybuilder.
had fun carrying that stuff, and he ran ahead of us.
I made
and
him
came
carry
back,
the water. We had gallons of water to drink. And so I said, here, you carry the backpack full of water.
He put the big giant backpack on and sprinted up to the spot, and came back and lightened our loads and went back again.
You more a monster.
Yeah, so he was, and you taught him, you gave him a crash course on being first assistant camera.
Yeah, focus
he's a
puller.
physical therapist.
Yeah.
You know,
So I taught your son Gianni how to do slate.
Right.
I taught Jean how to do sound.
Right.
She was our sound recorder.
Yep.
And
Mike.
Mike Jr. was doing focus pulling.
For focus pulling, and he did a pretty good job.
You stayed sharp.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I mean, that was all credit to you, and your depth of knowledge.
Yeah, and maybe the ability to trust people, get it, to rock it right away.
Well, unlike me, the rest of my family's pretty smart, so they can handle things that they're taught relatively quickly. I have a little bit more of a learning curve. You know?
Yeah, but you had your own preoccupations. I couldn't see you doing sound and acting at the same
not
time.
on this thing, but yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I was honored to be asked and help direct your performance, because it's very hard. Like, I try to hold up an honest mirror as a cinematographer,
Right.
but that's to have the director also be the major performer is really difficult. I really I felt honored to be helping.
Well, I trust you, and that's why you're here. It's like and I knew and you filmed me before, and we have a good strong relationship, but we really don't need to discuss a lot. So I have a trust in you. So even though I'm a co-director on the thing, like when I was in front of the camera, I was like, Joe, don't be bashful. If you see something to tweak me,
and we did.
Give it to me.
There were plenty of things that we saw and fixed, and there are things that I would love to do again or better, because we only had one day to shoot out there in the desert.
But that being said, I think we nailed it. I mean, we knew what we wanted to do, because I don't think we took more than 3 or 4 takes on anything. I mean,
No, we didn't have the budget to do that in terms of the fact that we had. I mean, you drag a camera package out into the middle of the desert. The most important thing, besides the data cards and how much volume you can actually record, the battery power.
Right.
There's no place to recharge a battery in the middle of the desert.
Right.
And so I had to have enough batteries with us to get through the day, but I had to be very, like for instance, you couldn't risk playing back every take to check it
No.
because that would double the cost of the battery
Yeah.
power.
And we are out yonder for this particular thing. We were way out
Yonder.
Yeah. I think, if somebody got hurt on the set, the closest hospital is like
Was
45, 50
100
minutes
miles
away.
away.
100 miles away.
100 miles away.
So, like,
and I tracked that on the set, on the applications
Right, we had
too.
all that lined up, so we knew where we needed to go, but like, it would be
but
a
if
while.
anything happened, we would have needed a medevac.
Right, or because like first we would have to get somebody. It would have taken how the hike. Took
Well,
us about
the one
an
thing
hour,
the one
right?
thing that was good is we still had strong phone reception out there.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I could at least have called 911 if something had happened.
Right.
But it was not uncalculated in my mind that when we went out there, I wanted to make sure that we had those kinds of bases covered.
Right.
Plenty of water to drink, an understanding of what we were going to do to get through the day. The fact that there was a big half moon in the sky for the trip home after dark helped light our way.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to worry too much about bringing artificial lighting on the journey to get us home.
And we coordinated that as well before time. It was like
All of
we're
it
gonna have a moon,
all
so
of
we're
it
gonna have some
pre-planned.
light, so we don't have to really worry about hiking out in the pitch black because there's gonna be some moonlight.
Right. And so all of that was planned. I won't say to the nth degree because you can overplan.
Right.
But the idea being that all safety considerations, COVID protocols, all that stuff was called into play. So it looks like a fun adventure that we just went, hey, let's have a party out in the desert. But we really did put a lot of thought into everything: costumes, makeup, performance, script writing, but also safety and technical prowess.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like we're patting ourselves on the back, but just like, but we really, even with our actors and even with my family who stepped up and did a tremendous job when they're not in the industry, and Michael Collin, our editor, who he
Did a fabulous job.
Fabulous job. Just everybody knew what they were doing, and we had a good plan, and we attacked it accordingly, and everything just went smooth.
And again, even things like, okay, for instance, one of the scenes takes place inside a railroad boxcar. Well, that was a pretty tall order.
Right.
You came up with the idea. Should I spoil it? No.
No, don't
We
spoil
came
it.
up with a magical idea.
We came up with a magical idea. Because we had an idea, and then it fell through the last second.
Yeah,
Remember, we had a fall
2
through
days
like
before
2
the
days
shoot.
before. And then I had an epiphany. Hey, I thought maybe this might work.
And it did. Yeah, and it did. It worked like a charm.
Right.
And as far as anybody's concerned, it's the inside of a railroad boxcar.
Right, and we'll talk about that at a later date.
Yeah, you have to.
Because we're in April now, and let's talk about the festival stuff a little bit now. We could segue to that a little bit. We're in April now,
Well,
so
one other thing I'd like to
Yeah, go
talk
ahead.
about just
Sure.
before we talk about the festival circuit and release.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was brilliant on your part is that you chose music very wisely to fit the character and fit the piece and fit the timing of the editing, and yet those pieces were famous music bits.
Right.
Those famous music bits were going to be very expensive to get clearances and rights to use. So you had gone global to find artists that could do sound-alikes.
Yeah. So
I think that was brilliant.
So we have copyright exempt sound-alike music. So when I wrote, and I'm doing that now with the feature length. When I write, I have songs in my head that I think fit the
Yeah.
pacing and the tone of what's
Because
happening.
the film has a heartbeat,
Yeah.
and the heartbeat is set by the tone, the phrasing of the music.
So I had
tempo.
songs. I had four specific songs that I knew fit this thing well. So I went to them, and one of our composers is in Israel, and our other composer is in Indonesia. So
Yes,
we
I mean,
found
you went
people,
global.
and they did a tremendous job.
Beautiful job.
Yeah.
In fact, so much so that I had to double check and make sure, because I helped with some of the sound design after the fact. I was like, am I pulling the which clip? Am I pulling? I didn't want to pull Deep Purple by accident and
Right.
put that in place because it was close enough to sound so much alike. It was like, let me check the file name and make sure I'm using the right piece.
Yeah, they found the spirit of those songs for sure.
Beautifully.
And they did a great job, and it just heightens the project.
Yeah.
And the whole thing came together tremendously. From end to end, the composers, the editors, everybody, the actors.
It really was brilliant on your part.
You did. Thank you. I appreciate that. Can you say that again?
You did brilliantly.
So things are going well, and we're in festival season now.
Yeah.
And we just had a couple more successes here. We just had another victory, a first runner-up, but that's a victory. So there's
Yeah.
a festival up in Toronto, couch film festival that was supposed to be live, but they're still treading water with this thing, so they decided to just do an online judging with it. But we came in a first runner-up, which is a winner. It's, it's not. There's best supporting actors in the Academy Awards.
You win money at the track with win place or show.
So it's a winner. But that counts as a win. So that's our 4th win now out of 6 festivals that we've heard from. So we've only heard back from 6 so far. We've made all 6, and we've won in 4 of them. So we're doing pretty good. But now things are going to start picking up, and the live events are going to start happening. So society's opening up again.
Yeah.
Sometime towards the end of the month, around May 1st, we're going to start having live events, and then from May through the end of the year,
it's all going to be back, hopefully back to normal.
We're going to be bopping around the country, popping our faces in front of audiences and showing this thing off.
In a theater,
which is awesome. I just went to the theater this weekend, by the way. It was cool to be back in front. Yeah, it was cool to be back in the movie theater. We were the only people in there, and that was awesome. That was cool. So I usually don't go see a movie that everybody else is going to see. So I did that again. I went to go see City of Lies with Johnny Depp and Forrest Whitaker, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's just good to be back in the theater again.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
So I'm gonna go. We're going again tomorrow night. I'm gonna try and go every week. So
right.
LA's back to 50%. We're still 25% here.
Yeah. No, I got back to the gym for the first time in a long time. Felt great, and yeah, I can't wait for theaters to
And you shouldn't be afraid. I'm telling everybody, because where we sat, we bought our tickets, and then they taped the seats off next to us, so nobody can even attempt to sit next to you. So they're being really cautious. I would say it's okay. Don't be afraid. Wear your masks. We did the thing,
Yeah.
So we put our masks on to walk through the theater and do the whole thing in the hand sanitizer, and we dropped the masks to eat our food, but we kept the masks on, and be precautious and be safe.
And well, at this point, I've got my shots, so I'm good.
You're good. And I just got my first one yesterday. I'm feeling a little groggy, so I'm about to. But no, I'm okay. Everything's good.
Yep.
I hear the second one. I mean, you had the.
I had the Moderna.
I got the Pfizer. Did you? My wife actually felt a little under the weather after the second one for a couple of days. How did you do?
I'm always under the weather. I didn't feel a difference.
Yeah, so
I didn't feel a thing.
It's kind of funny.
I'm always groggy and I fall asleep in my.
Rob Schneider,
narcoleptic
comedian. He says a funny thing every once in a while. So he actually had a funny line. He's like, I'm in my 50s now, so I feel good 2-3 times a month. And it's true.
Yeah.
There's always something going on,
but anyway, as far as theaters are concerned, one of the things I really like is that we didn't scrimp on camera equipment. We didn't scrimp on, that we actually have a full-scale digital cinema release.
We have a full-scale digital cinema release, and we're going to have a 5.1 surround sound mix in the theaters. And we have a real deal package here, and it's going to be exciting to see.
So I can't wait to have people actually see it and hear it in the prime environment.
Yeah, we were just talking about this before we came on camera. Is that it's been fun to win these online festivals, but now I'm ready to be in front of audiences and show this thing in front of audiences.
Yeah.
And it's coming. I feel really good about where we're going with this thing. I mean, the sampling that we have, a 100% acceptance rate and a 67% victory rate, tells us that we're probably going to make a few more festivals.
A couple more festivals on the circuit.
And we are, and I have submitted us to some larger festivals.
Right. I mean, as long as they love silly and goofy and over the top, we're in good shape.
We're in good shape, and I think we're going to have a fun run with this thing, man.
I think so.
So thank you for everything you did for this project. I'm really appreciative.
It's my pleasure. I had such a ball.
Yeah, it was fun.
A great time.
And I'm looking forward to.
And I can't say enough about. I mean, everyone's performances were top notch.
Everybody was great. Andrew Perez, our one actor. Irina Murphy, our other actress.
Yeah, she did great. And again, one of the things I said is it's basically. I don't spoil it again, but it's basically a silent movie.
Yeah.
There's very, very little dialogue, if any.
Right.
And it's a special skill to put on a performance for a silent camera.
Right.
It really is a special, almost a lost art.
Yeah.
And I'd say that Andrew and Irina and you did a fabulous job of capturing that energy.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that more at a later date. I don't want to spoil anything, but there was one particular scene that was in there that was probably the most demanding thing acting-wise I ever had to do.
Uh-huh.
And it was really difficult. And when I wrote it, I didn't really size up how difficult that was going to
Yeah.
be. And I don't want to spoil anything, give away what exactly
No,
happened.
yeah,
in the scene.
don't. But watch for it, ladies and
Right,
gentlemen.
but when we get to
watch
that down
for
the road,
it
and
because
everybody, we feel that people see that we
because he
talk
did a
about it.
brilliant job in a very. It should be one of the most difficult acting exercises for any acting class.
Yeah, it was really difficult. I didn't surmise how difficult that was going to be, but I
Yeah.
think we pulled it off, and it comes off well. And but yeah,
We'll call
that
it
was challenging.
modern kabuki theater.
Yeah, so it was cool. But that's another thing that was like the technical stuff. I mean, I know we were just wrapping up, but real quickly, like I knew being on here, and you're probably hearing a little bit on this thing right here, right now, that wind is difficult to deal with. And like when you're out in these kind of elements, you can't contain the wind.
Well, the end of that day, we had 30-mile-an-hour gusts.
30-mile-an-hour gusts. So I wrote it minimalist dialogue.
Right.
And because
Right.
I knew it was going to be an uphill battle to try and
Right.
get
So
some
all
sound.
the equipment was pared down to expect that there was going to be high wind.
Right.
And again, heavy dialogue scenes would have not worked out well at
It
all.
would have been a wash. And I knew that, and that's why, yeah.
And ADR, or automated dialogue replacement,
Right.
never there's unless you do layers and layers and layers of mixing to
Right.
make it sound natural, it never sounds right.
Yeah. And I'm not comfortable with it because I know, like, I know a lot of people do that stuff, and they're like, well, the audience won't notice, but I notice. And
It's
if
subliminal.
If I notice it, it's not good.
It's
Not good
subliminal.
enough. I won't accept it.
An audience member might not put their finger on it, but something feels fakey.
Right. Doesn't
That
feel
person
right.
is 30 feet away. How come
Right.
I can hear him like he's whispering?
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
And I will never accept something that, like, I feel, if I don't accept it, then I'm not going to say, well, they're not professionals. They won't see it.
Don't ever underestimate your audience.
No. If I notice it, then it's not good enough.
True.
So, yeah. So I won't. So.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think we did something pretty good here.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Joe. Thanks for
Oh,
everything.
it was my pleasure.
Thanks for coming
Be
out
sure
here.
to see it wherever you can. Astral Plane Drifter.
I think they kind of know at this point.
Yeah, well,
That's why they got me.
this is for the new members who just
New
joined.
members. We have new members.
My fan club.
So good segue right there, because now time for public service announcement. So what's important here, we have a great project, great product that we're trying to build into hopefully a feature film. So what we need from everybody is a following. So it's really important for everybody to watch this on the YouTube, share it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube. There's all these tags along the way on my stuff. Share it with your friends, most importantly. Let's broaden our fan base, because if we get enough following behind this thing, we will get something done bigger. We will be able to make a feature product out of this thing. So, and that's what we want to do. We want to make this into a feature film, because I think it'll be a great feature film.
Absolutely.
So, but we need everybody to contribute. And by contributing is just spend a couple of extra seconds clicking on the like buttons, clicking on subscribe, clicking on the shares. Do all that stuff for us. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. For me, Mike Caravella. I'm the Mike Caravella on Instagram, Mike Caravella 13 on Facebook, Mikey Forums on YouTube. You're Joe DJ. I went back to Brooklyn there for a minute. Joe Gennaro everywhere. This guy is an amazing guy. Hire him if you can. And thank you for everything. And we will see you soon. Peace.